And I'll mute the video so that I don't get this feedback. All right, so everybody got the data set. I posted a link in the chat panel if you want to like catch my version. It does show all the windows and the access doors as intended in the model. Today, we're going to finish the interior design, and we're going to focus on understanding materials and material library and create custom materials. I am in level 1 of the project browser. If this is switched to wireframe, then you will be able to see in transparency the image that's lying in the background. If this is set to hidden line, the image disappears because it has a lot of solid elements on top of it. But you switch to wireframe, just temporary. You can still continue working on the background objects as references. I did include the doors. This one has the wrong orientation. I think the swing has to flip, and we use this flip controls just to fix that. So I think we took care of the envelope and the windows and doors. Let's focus on the interior side this class. And we also built a floor that span both in the interior and exterior. And we learned how to tag stuff. So door tagging, it's very similar to the partition labeling. And for information to display as part of a door, that information needs to live inside of the family. And so in Revit, labels can report instant type or instant mark or type mark. And remember the difference between instance and type properties. Instance properties are mark values that are unique to a door. And then type mark is the same label for all the doors of the same type. Now, traditionally, door schedules, we usually do instance mark. Every door receives its own mark value. And so I'm going to show you how to tag a door using instance parameters. For the walls, for the wall partitions, we were using type parameters. So the same tag applies to across all the instances of the same type. All right, first we need to see if there is a label loaded into Revit. And labels or tags are category specific. There's got to be a tag for every element you intend to tag. And to find where are the tags available in the project, you go to the Annotate tab. And then you hit Tag by Category. And then when you hit the door, you're going to see that there is this this tag with a vertical leader, and it has like an oval shape. Before you click, check into the options bar, because you may choose to disable the leader using this checkbox. And then now the tag appears at the center of every door. Now, if your style is to align the tag with the door panel, you can also do a vertical tag and then it's going to rotate it. It's going to rotate it 90 degrees. So you're going to read the labels vertically. Some firms choose this method, other firms choose others. Again, it's up to your standards. I'm going to keep it horizontal just for readability. Disable the tag and place it and hit escape. Now, the reason this label is empty is because it's not reporting the parameter of this door is not yet filled in. We need to go into the door family and find or fill the door type. You don't have to do this, but if I select, no, let's do it together. When you select this door and go into the mark value, the mark value, it's an instance parameter, meaning that is unique for every door. Every door has a unique mark value. And let's call this door 101. And then hit apply. And boom, the value is there. Easy. The door tags by default report instance parameter. It report this instance parameter, and you can change the value in the property windows, or you can just change it directly into the door. You can just go inside the tag and click it. This is door 1. Now, I'm going to keep it a 101. Let's start the other one. It's the same thing. Annotate tag by category. Hit the door tag. Escape. And notice that this door already had a mark value, but I'm going to call this door 102. And the way to change the parameter is select the door. In the property windows, go where it says mark value and change it to 102. Simple as that. Now, Revit always remember the last input or the last override. So you don't have to do this. I'm just demonstrating that if I had another door, I'm just going to put a door here, and then I tag it, annotate, tag. Then you see how this door automatically received number 103 because that was the last input received, or the last input override in the door category. And then Revit likes to remember sequences. So you don't have, as long as you start placing doors in a logical manner, then it's going to be going to tag it accordingly. Now, sometimes we place doors and at the very, very end, Revit start placing placeholder numbers. And then at the very, very end, you can rename it. If two tags share the same value, there's going to be a warning. I'll give you an example. I'm going to select this door and I'm going to make it 101, which is the same door as above. And Revit give you this warning that the elements have duplicate mark values. And this is a good safeguarding mechanism to make sure that your values are unique, in particular when it comes to instance properties. You can continue. You can click it OK. And Revit will respect the redundancy, which is not good. But notice that when two doors share the same number, Revit display a warning. In this warning, it's permanent. It's going to stay with the project until you manually address it. So I would call this a soft warning because in Revit, you have hard warnings and soft warnings. The hard warning is something you have to resolve right away, or Revit is not going to let you complete the operation. An example is if you don't connect a sketch line, or if there is a gap in the sketch line boundaries, you have to address it in order to continue. And this is a soft warning in that Revit release a warning, but it leaves it there. It lets you continue. And you can always go back and find what your warnings are by selecting the object and look at the show related warnings button.
So, sorry, I'm trying to tag the second door. And as I go, I select the door. I go to annotate, tag by category. And then I am in the floor plan. I don't know why.
You must be in the floor plan. Yeah. You have to be on floor plan level 1, then tag by category, and then just hit the door.
It doesn't allow me to. It just goes to the floor plan, and it has a big question mark, like a triangle or a square with a question mark.
This is if you have this is tagging the storefront system. So in order to pick the door, make sure you pick the door from the arc or from the panel line. If you do it from here, you're gonna see that this
now I have 2 squares. Let's see, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, these squares are tagging the storefront in which the door is nested. So to pick the door, select the door from the arc. If the door is not there, or if you were unable, were you able to place the door in the previous exercise?
No. I'm just using yours. So
now okay. Just hit the door from the arc line. You see what I'm doing? I am hitting the door from the arc line, from the sweep.
Now I'm moving everything around. Oh my God. Yeah, okay. I don't know.
If you hit if you hit add annotate tag category and then just select the door from the screen.
Oh, I see. I'm doing it the other way around. I'm selecting the door first. Okay.
Yeah, in this one you select the operation first.
Okay, so okay, got it.
And I'm going to return the value to 102 because I don't want warnings. And so this is 101, 102. And the same is true with the windows. The windows can be tagged either by instance, and you select a window, for example, it reports the instance mark. But it also reports type marks. And this is like the type mark of this window is window 19. So it's up to technical standards. Do you want each window to have a unique value? Then add the value as an instance mark. This is unique. And if you wanted all the type to report the same mark, then add it here as a type mark. This is a type mark. Same thing, you go to annotate, tag by category, hover over the window, and you see how it reports 19. That is a type mark. That means that all the small windows are going to be 19. Oh, I missed placing a window here. And then another type by category here. So this is 18, the other is 19. If you have a different system, it's just a matter of changing the type parameter. Or maybe it's a window type A, B, C. edited type. This is a type property. I'm going to change it to numerical. So this is type mark A. And because it's a type mark, all the windows of the same type will receive the same label. I am missing this window, small window here. This is the east elevation. And the east elevation shows it at 2'6". We might as well just place it very quickly. A quick way to do this is I know that this window is going to be exactly the same as this one. And so this is a nice shortcut for everyone to learn. It's called CS. And this is create similar. And to do this, you just pick any element in Revit and then type on the fly CS. And that's going to create exactly a new instance of the same type selected on the screen. So if I select this fixed 30 by 30 window, and I type on the fly CS, create similar, and then I just pick the wall here, drop it, and escape. It doesn't have to be exactly aligned with the big image in the background. That's just a guide. And then fix the sill height. The sill height is 1'6".
So a question, Cesar, I am trying to do that. I am typing CS, but I just get a sound.
That is because the shortcuts in your workstation are not enabled.
Okay.
Let's see. In the last few classes ago, I sent everyone an email how to fix that.
Okay.
Let me see if I find it quickly. Shortcuts.
I remember that email, Cesar, but mine also makes a noise when I type CS, and I installed those shortcuts.
And it doesn't do anything. When I mean you hear a noise, like a bing or something like that.
Yeah, I hear like a ding.
Me too.
It's funny. Let's just double check that the shortcut is actually there. So the way to do that, you go to File tab, and then Options, and then go to User Interface, Keyboard Shortcuts, and you can type CS here, or create similar, and it should have a shortcut of CS. If this is define, if this is declare, you should be able to do it. Again, File, Options, User Interface, Keyboard Shortcuts, Customize, and then search for create similar. If the shortcut doesn't work, and well, let me find out what it is, because it's strange to me that
Do we have to import them?
Yes, you have to import them, and I sent an email with an attachment. That email, I think I just sent it to you, Cesar.
Yeah.
So that file needs to be imported. Otherwise, if you have no shortcuts define, they're not gonna work.
When I opened, what I did, when I followed you with what you did, the CS was present there. I mean, it was there.
Oh, was there?
Yeah, but I still have that sound. It doesn't work.
I also have the sound, but the shortcut actually works when I place it on the map. So I don't know if on the plan. So I don't know if you can try that.
No, it doesn't work. I do CS and it goes ping. Yeah. See?
Yeah, I can hear you. And then if you move the mouse to a wall, you don't see the window getting created?
No. Nothing.
Okay, well, that's new for me. I'll have to research why that error is that way. So let me do some research and get you an answer next time. Are you all using Mac?
No, I'm using a PC.
Are you using a PC? Okay. Let me find out what that is. I don't have an answer right on top of my head. So if CS is not working, another way of doing it, you select this and use the copy command. The copy command is right here. I'm highlighting it under the modify tab. When you copy, you have these check boxes in the options bar. Constrain means that the copy is only going to happen in 90 degrees orthogonal angles, 0, 90, 180. So you may want to disable that to copy the window from one location to another one. And then the multiple make the command active, and you can do multiple copies at the same time. So I'm going to disable that again. So you pick it from here, and then you place it there. And then escape. I'm going to do, this is just in case the CS command doesn't work for you.
Yeah, you
Select
can
it.
right click and get to the command also.
Oh, create similar. Good tip. Awesome tip. Yes. Create similar is also here. And then you just touch the wall and escape. Thanks for that tip. All right, I'll get you an answer next class. We should have all the windows in place. If you want to change the type mark of the window, access the type properties and change the type mark here. This is window type C, for example. And then all type Cs will be renamed. Okay, so let's get into the interior. Any other questions so far here? Okay, so let's do some of the interior walls. Here we have for one of the bedrooms, we have a closet, and I think this is a space for mechanical equipment. And then there's another one in the north bedroom that has like a toilet, a closet, and I think this is a burner or a, yeah, I think it's like a fireplace for the living room. So let's do one, and I'll give you as a homework to do the rest. I'm just gonna do one with the class because there's a lot of content to cover today, and I'm afraid we'll spend the entire class just doing this. I'm also going to post the complete interior at the end of the class and share it in preparation for Wednesday. All right, notice how in this enlarged plan on the view, there is a small partition, a a stronger partition behind the toilet. We can create a new partition from scratch, but for this particular exercise, I'm just going to leave it generic. The measure tool in the upper left side, it's allow me to find dimensions in space. And I'm just going to do that to have a sense of what's the size of this partition. So that's about 4 inches. I'm going to use a 4-inch partition. And then this one here is probably about 6.5. I think for simplicity, I'm going to make them all 4 inches. So just go to the wall, type architectural. In the properties type selector, I think there's one wall here called generic interior. There's a 478 here, but there's the generic brick one. We're going to start with this one, and then we're going to create a new type. So pick the generic 4-inch brick, and just build one segment of a wall. Doesn't matter if it's correctly placed. Now this wall is the wrong type. It has the wrong finishes. What we're going to do is we're going to make it have plywood in both ends, plywood finish in both ends. So again, what I did is go to architecture, wall, then in the property windows, in the drop-down list, I selected generic 4-inch brick and created part at top. We know how to create new partitions, right? So same process, duplicate, rename, change parameter values. So I'm going to edit the type. I'm going to duplicate it. I'm going to call this interior dash wood. The next step is to change parameter values. And so I access the structure button using the edit button. For simplicity, I'm just going to change the material from brick to wood. So you can click on the material, click the 3 little dots that you see at the end of the cell. And look for the plywood. Plywood material so that it displays plywood in both ends. Plywood sheeting, then hit OK. Hit OK. Hit OK. You all got that? And I repeat very quickly. You created a new wall. Then in the type selector, select the generic 4-inch brick, create a placeholder in the background, edit the type properties, then duplicate, rename. I call this interior wood, and then in the structure edit button, swap the brick layer material to plywood. You can search in the material browser for the plywood word, PLY. And select the plywood sheeting, hit OK. And you will get the right render appearance in the right color.
You don't need to use the studs or anything?
You got me there. We are thinking like architects. Yeah, we could add a core of studs and a layer. I have a layer in the outside. I have a layer in the inside. if you want to do that, go ahead. I'm just looking time right now, and there's a lot
Okay.
of things to cover, but that's the right mind. We're building things that need to be defined and scheduled correctly. We should add a core and a 1/2 inch plywood in the outside, 1/2 inch on the inside. Good catch. I'm skipping those rules just so I can go faster. All right, so I have an interior wood panel door, and let's close the walls here. So you go into architecture wall, and the easy way to do this is using the face of exterior location line. Now in the property windows, let's not pick the brick wall, but let's pick the interior wood that I created. Interior wood, that is the partition I will use. And then the location line, I'll pick the face of exterior wall. And I think I showed you this rule in the past. When you build the walls, try to use their clockwise rule, meaning that, sorry, the counterclockwise. Again, wall. When I create walls counterclockwise, the exterior is where it needs to be. You see the double arrow here? That is the exterior side. But if we create walls in the counterclockwise, then we will have to flip all the walls using the flip controls, because the exterior side is actually on the interior. So the order in which you click boundaries in Revit determine the direction of those planes. Let's do it again. Wall, interior wood, and I would pick finish face exterior, and I just trace it. I just trace it around this core. And right now, I know that what you see in plan are just artifacts that are mounted on the walls. So I'm gonna ignore those. Like, I'm gonna ignore the doors right now. When I place a door, then an opening will be created. Now I have my 4 walls. I can also add the demise wall. And then the back of the fireplace. I switch this to coarse. That's how it look like. Again, if I want this to look dark black, that is a type property of the partition. I need to go back and change that. You can do that by selecting the partition, edit the type properties, and change the core scale fill pattern to solid instead of diagonal. I'm changing the type properties of the interior wood. Click edit type, core scale fill pattern solid. And now here they are. This is what you should be doing. I switch to wireframe. And this device to file. All right. I don't have a lot of time to do the rest, but after class, I'll do it super quickly and I'll post the rest of the interior walls, but it's exactly the same process. You can build the next core. using different partition types, etc. Now, is everybody done with this core? Do you guys need me to do anything or repeat anything about this core? Okay. All right. What I want to do next is to show you these walls. When I select them, they have an unconnected height of 7 feet. That is, this is the height of the partition. But when I look at the pictures, these all these walls go to the underside of the roof. And so there's a property in the there's a way in which you can extend the top of a wall to the underside of another element. And this is using extend or attach top base. Let's see if it works. And so the way to do this, and the easy way to do this, is to select the 4 walls. And a quick way to select a chain of walls is you hover over one and then hit the tab key. You see that? And so in the description, it said chain of walls or chain of lines. Tab, select a loop of connected lines or walls. So that's in particular, when you're trying to do like select multiple elements at a time, just hover over, hit tab, and tab is gonna select everything that is connected. So tab, and then in the modify tab, in this contextual tab, just open the section box, the section box tool. It's close to the center of the ribbon. And that's what I love working with section boxes, because then you can actually focus on modeling something else. So here's the section box. This is a select. I think I have the mass category display here. So I'm just going to type visibility graphic and disable the mass category. That's why it was looking like grayish, because the mass, it's on top of everything. And then now I have this section box here. Everybody with me here? Somebody need me to repeat anything? All right, so when I did visibility graphic and switch off the mask category, and the mask category it's empty. And then I'm going to grab the handle at the top of this section box, and you can see that part of the roof it's on display there. And you can switch to like on a side, and you can grab one of this, and extend it all the way so that it intersects with the roof. So there is a command that is called attach top base, but this only works between floors and walls, but not between a wall and another wall. And so what I'm going to do instead is to edit the profile. Edit the profile will access the wall boundaries, and you have a way to pick existing lines in order to edit the boundary of a wall. So all I did is, again, grab the top handle of a partition and extend it enough so that it intersects with the roof above. And then I'm going to edit the profile of that wall. you have to select it first. Edit profile, it's a nested command, so it's only visible when you select the wall. I'm going to delete the top boundary. And then I'm going to use this pick line tool. The pick line tool, it's a way to select existing references, geometrical references in the space. So pick line tool, the underside of the roof. And then I'm going to fillet the walls using the trim command. Trim command, it's this one in the modified tools. The rules of sketch mode, the boundaries needs to be in a closed loop and they cannot overlap. So I need to do some cleanup work. I clean this, select the segments to keep. And that is the size that I want. It's aligned with the underside of the roof. And then hit the green checkbox. And I'm done with that partition. I'm going to do the same for the rest of the walls. So it's the same operation. Select a partition, grab the handles so that they intersect the existing roof, then edit the profile, delete the top purple boundary, use the pick line tool to select a reference line that will project in the working plane of a sketch boundaries. So make sure that your view in 3D is allow you to pick this boundary, which is giving me a hard time here. Looks like this one, it doesn't like this one. Tab. I didn't like it. I want to cancel here. And for this particular one, I'm just gonna grab the top handle and extend it enough so that it intersects the roof. And then one thing we can do is use this join command. Join command. You see, this line doesn't look like clean. Under the modify tab, there is a command called join. And the join command will merge elements of the same category. So I'm going to join this wall with this one. And now I have a nice line there. All right, I'm going to repeat the process with the other two walls. Select the partition, stretch it up, stretch the handle so it's above the roof. Then edit the profile. Delete the top line, and then use the pick line tool to select the underside of the roof. And then use the fillet or the trim to corner command to keep the lines. And now the last one. Select the wall, stretch it enough so that it intersects the roof. And then you can join it if you want to see a clear corner connection. Join this wall, no, join the roof with the wall. And now I have a perfectly aligned wall connected to the underside of a roof, which is actually a wall. And the reason we did that is so that the geometry looks perfect in this small building. So this is the same process you will do with the other course. I don't have time to go through those today, but in the data set for next class, I will provide those for you. If you want to continue working after class or tomorrow doing it as a homework, I encourage you to do so that you get a better hold on how to edit walls. I think the lesson here is if the wall it's following the slope, you will be able to pick a line, but if it's like parallel to the slope, it won't. So we have to extend and edit and join. This is the type of thing that I don't like about Revit. Like, we should be able to work these things easily, and knowing the right way of getting things done takes a little bit of practice. Like, I know that I have to edit this, and then I could extend this and join it. But it would have been much easier if I just use the attach end, which wouldn't work with elements of the same category. Okay, if you're with me here, just disable the section box. That takes me back to the whole thing. And let's talk about materials, which is the half of the other class. Any question here? Anyone wants me to repeat anything we did? Are you okay? All good? All right. Okay, so let's talk about the material library. This is huge for if you are in the business of rendering. So we talked a little bit about materials when we were creating a custom wall, and we were assigning materials to the material box, but we didn't talk much about anything else. So let's talk about materials. So the materials that are available in a project are there because they came from a template. So depending on what template you use to get started your project, then that's going to give you the default list of materials. Revit, out of the box, the architectural template, come with this library under the Manage tab, where it says Materials. The second icon from the left, right in the ribbon. This is the material browser. And this list of materials that you see in this panel that you can scroll up and down, these are provided to you via the architectural template. If you're in a business or an industry where you repeat textures over and over, I would advise you that you bake your materials or your most frequently used material in your templates, so you don't have the user recreating materials from scratch. Over by the right side of this, again, if you want to follow along, go to the Manage tab, Materials tab, Material button. Over by the upper side of this dialog box, you're going to find 5 tabs. The Identity tab, which disclose textual information about the material, including a description of what the material is, the class, comments and keywords. And this is important for interior designers, for those of you who do interior work. You have a way to connect and schedule a material to a manufacturer, model, cost, and URL. And then Revit also has a way to tag elements by material. So you also have an ability to add a material mark and a material keynote. The mark and keynote work in tandem. So if you, for example, if you are doing interior elevation of a retrofit, you can embed the mark value to the material. For example, concrete, and the keynote description will be the word concrete. And so when you are in interior elevation, you tag by material. I haven't shown you how to do that yet. And then this will be the metadata that will be reported by it. So identity has metadata, textual information associated with the material that can be retrieved via keynotes, and it can be part of a schedule. The graphic tab is how the element or how the material is represented in surface and cut pattern. These are projection and cut display. So this graphic this control the technical properties of a material. These are the type of things you want to see in a detail, in an exterior elevation, in a construction document. This display a surface pattern that is displayed and you can have two surface pattern combined, one at the foreground, another in the background. You can have also two overlapping pattern, one at the foreground, another at the background in the cut pattern. When you hit the pattern cell, you will be presented with the fill patterns. And take a note because this is on the test. There are two types of materials: drafting patterns and model pattern. So a drafting pattern is a conceptual representation of a generic material that remain the same regardless of the scale of the view. I'll give you an example: concrete. We all know concrete is represented by this hatch. And this hatch, you can apply it to a detail at 1/4 of an inch, or 1/2 an inch, or 1/8 of an inch, or do it at 3/32 of an inch. The pattern, when printed, is going to look exactly the same. It's not going to look bigger. It's not going to look smaller. The scale factor remain static across all the different views. And that's why they are called drafting views. So drafting has a static hatch display. And examples of this are concrete. Another one, it's like steel, and there's a list of all these drafting patterns. When you scroll down, steel, for example, vertical, wood finishes, which are fairly used in detailing. No matter what the scale of the view is or the scale of a detail, you can have a detail at 1 = 1 or 1.5. When you compare the patterns, they're going to have a static scale. And then on the other side, we have model patterns. And model patterns are unitized. And what that means is that they represent manufacturing size. And obviously they respect the dimensional qualities of the material. An example, it's veneer, no, a vinyl floor, one that's 12 inches by 12 inches. So Revit is going to respect the dimensional size of the pattern. And obviously, when you look at views of different scale, in some scales, the pattern is going to be like more condensed. In other, is going to be bigger, and at the detail level, it's going to be bigger. And so this type of pattern is consistent dimensional size. So you can expect to see variation in the scale factor depending on the view. And that's why when you look at the list of different model patterns, you see how there are usually associated with a unitized size. Like this is a 4 1/4 tile, 6-inch parallel wood siding, 8 inches tile, 8 by 6. You usually name your patterns by the size of the unit, where the drafting patterns are generic representation of materials. They don't have dimensional values. They are a static representation of materials. And in the model one, there's a Revit respect the dimensional size of the pattern. Does that make sense? And why this is important? Because when we create new materials from scratch, we need to decide whether the material is going to be drafting or is going to be model. And this out-of-the-box library, it's limited. Revit can actually read all files with the extension PAT. And this is on the test as well. Revit can read AutoCAD hatch patterns. Those are filed with the extension PAT. And PAT is the pattern language from AutoCAD. And we can import AutoCAD hatch patterns and make them read in Revit. Okay, so graphic tab display the technical representation of elements in construction documentation, surface pattern, and cut pattern. The next tab is called appearance tab. These are control the way an element renders under the rendering tool. And this contains the color in which the element will render, the texture map associated with that. Let's pick one that has a texture. Let's see, this wood planks. So I just picked the wood planks material, and there's a rendering color. There's also image texture, and then parameters associated with how to control the display of that texture, including reflectivity, transparency, cutouts, self-illumination, bump, and tint. Reflectivity is the amount of light it bounces off the surface, either direct or oblique angle. Transparency allow you to associate or make the element have a fade in the texture, or translucency, or a refraction. This is usually applicable in air or in glass materials. The cutouts uses a black and white image where the white represent openings in the materials. This is, for example, if you want to render a fence link, a link fence, then you can have an image, a black and white image, where the white is render transparent. Self-illumination is usually associated with materials that glow, and you associate light and color temperature and luminance value. Bump gives you a bump representation using another image. This gives a 3D look to the material. For example, in this case, this is the generic image, but the bump allow it to have a relative texture. White color means that it's flat, and the black image means that it's going up. So this is because these have this valleys, and this gives a relative bump experience to the material. Again, all of these are rendering properties. So the appearance library is everything, everything in all the rendering properties of a material. Then there are physical assets and thermal assets. We don't touch them very often in architectural practice. But the physical assets deal with the properties of a structure and mechanical properties, and thermal are usually behaviors around thermal properties, thermal conductivity, specific heat, density, emissivity, porosity, etc. I used to know what each of them mean when I was studying for my registration. Maybe now the only one I can recall is maybe thermal conductivity, the ratio at which energy passes through a material. But if you're studying for a registration, learn all these terms, even though you will never probably use them later on. All right, so appearance, physical, and thermal has one thing in common, that they use something called an asset. And an asset is displayed at the very top. This is a material asset. And a material asset, it's a predefined collection of properties that define what a material, how a material looks like or how it behaves. What's the performance of that material? And so notice the material asset has a name. The name of the asset here is bevel vertical. And then it has a little hand. Is that 0? And what that means is that only this material is associated with this asset. Sometimes the material has a little number here, like 1, 2, 3, or 4. And what they are telling you that there are 2 or 3 or 4 other materials in the list of materials that are utilizing this asset. And then it's like a type property. Everything that is listed under the appearance library is part of an asset. And if you change it here and the asset is used by other material, then it's going to impact the other materials as well. Let's see if I can find an example. I'm here in the appearance library, and let's pick another one. Okay, this is the default generic one. And notice how it says there's a little hand and there's a number 8 right here. What that means is that there are 8 materials in this list of materials that are using the appearance generic. And if I change the properties here, it's going to change 8 materials in this list. So that may be a good thing, or that may be a bad thing, right? A good thing because it allows you to do quick changes across all materials at once. But if you want to have a unique material that does a specific thing, it's best to have a unique asset for that material. And so when you start making changes in the material, make sure that you can duplicate an asset. And notice that now I have the last icon from this, duplicate an asset. It gives a new name with the name of the asset can be changed in the information here. This is a unique asset. It's a copy. And then I can make changes to this list, to these properties without impacting other materials. So I'll go back to the wood. And notice that this appearance is used in Bevel vertical for the appearance. For the physical is using plywood, physical and thermal properties. And in the thermal is using the plywood as well. Well, these assets, you can bring new assets into the building, into the project from the asset library. And the asset library, you can access it in the lower left corner of this dialog box. So the third icon from the lower right will open the asset library. This is the asset library. And this is in the test as well. Asset browser, it's a collection of out-of-the-box materials, out-of-the-box appearances, out-of-the-box physical, and out-of-the-box thermal properties. And this is read-only library. It's what it is. It's given by Autodesk. It is a reference library. You can browse hundreds and several hundreds of different assets in this library. You cannot delete them, and you cannot create new reference assets. What you can do is import these assets into the project, and then in the project, you can customize it. And so notice in the asset browser that there are a lot of libraries that have a little lock. Again, this is just confirming that all of these libraries are read-only. Physical materials are properties that structural engineers would like to use if they're using Revit-based material for analysis. And the properties of these physical assets change by the different local codes. And that's why you see that there are structural properties in Italy, Germany, all these different countries where standards are set up. For architectural purposes, we are only going to focus on appearance assets. And here is where you can search for a material. And this is a big library of different ways in which a material can be rendered. The materials, you can display differently. If I double click an asset, notice that it will transfer the asset into the project in whatever the material you had access. I did something bad because I did not intend to change the material of my wood planks. So I'm going to cancel here. I don't want to change my building. As long as you hit cancel, then the properties are not going to be accessed. So the rules of creating a new material are the following. First, these are how to create a new material. Let's start with a generic. It's probably the best way. Second, assign a class. A class, it's a different materials have different properties. Like textile has different ways of behave from hard surfaces, from stone, from glass. A class defines the amount of parameters in the asset library. Then assign the metadata, which is the identity properties, and assign an asset from the library of assets. And finally, if you want to tweak it, you can do that and tweak the asset. So 5 steps. Start with a generic material, give it the appropriate class and description. The class will define the number of properties that are appropriate for that type of material. We assign identity properties, the metadata. Then we assign rendering assets from the library, and then we tweak the asset. All right, my Revit just crashed, Dan. And I don't think I saved, but I didn't think I have a lot of saved stuff. Any question here about material? Okay, so we're going to create a new material from scratch. And in this particular example, the floor of my Mila house, it's made of, well, you see, I lost my walls here, but that's okay. I'll do it again after class. I'm going to give the floor a stained concrete look. And I'm going to build that from scratch. So let's do it. So I go into the Manage tab, Materials. And step number 1, it's find the appropriate class. So you go into the identity data. And then start with the generic. So I'll go and in the list of materials, select the generic. You can also search it. That's probably easier. If you want to like create a variation of an existing asset, you can also do that. So you can start with a wood, for example, if you want to create a variation of the wood. But this is completely from scratch. So I'm going to select the default, sorry, not generic, the default one. Start with the default. Then in the descriptive information, pick the appropriate class. So I want to create a stained concrete material. So it's part of a concrete. And when I do that, then the appearance, you see the appearance now display properties that are that will be associated with concrete. So it's a concrete, and then the name, I'm going to change it from default. Oh, sorry, my bad. Right click on default and duplicate. This is super important. Duplicate material and assets. If I don't do this, then I'm going to start changing the meta properties of the default material. So when you duplicate a material via right click, Revit's going to add a number at the end. That's a sequence number. And then I'm going to change this to stain concrete. When you click to accept, the material is repositioned in this list alphabetically. So you may have to scroll down again. So we duplicate the generic one, and then we change the class to concrete. In the description, you can type what this material is about. It's a gray stain concrete texture. You can also add manufacturer, model cost if needed. I don't have that information in hand. And you can also add a mark or a keynote. I'm going to skip that for now. Then I'm going to switch to the appearance library. In the appearance library, notice that it's using this generic 10 asset. And I don't want to do that. I want to replace the asset with something that looks like a stained concrete. And so what I do is open the asset library. It's the third icon in the lower left. And please don't hit cancel because you're going to start over. So hit the third icon from the lower left to bring the asset browser. Click on the appearance library. These are all the different classes of material in Revit. Go to concrete. And then in here, you can scroll down and find a placeholder for stained concrete. There are things here like expose, aggregate, terrazzo, precast, polish. Maybe that's stained brown. That's a good one. So double click the asset, the concrete polish stained brown asset. And then you're going to notice that the assets get transferred. The image it's brought into the project, and all the properties associated with the assets travel into the project. That makes sense. So
I have a lock on mine.
a lock where? On the
Under
appearance library?
Concrete polished stained brown. When I click
Yes.
on it, there's a little lock in the top left corner.
Yeah, so do I. And that means it's just read only. But if you double click or you hit this double arrow at the end, it will transfer that property into the
Okay.
appearance asset.
Yeah, I see.
Yeah. So this double arrow, or when you double click, will move the assets right here. And the reason it's locked is because the library is locked and it's just read only. And the reason it's read only is that Autodesk now has moved into the material library is used across all Autodesk products. So Inventor, AutoCAD, Revit, Navisworks, they all share the same asset browser. You can open the asset browser in all this different software, and it's going to be exactly the same reference library. And what's good about it is that you can export Revit to AutoCAD, and it will, because it reads the same source of texture maps, then the materials will transfer seamlessly between different software. And that's why it has this lock here. Now, another thing I want you to notice is there are some pieces of material that have like a little triangle, and this is in the test, a yellow triangle. The yellow triangle means that this is a old material. It's in Revit 2021, Revit introduced physically based materials, or PBM. And the PBMs are constructed different from traditional materials, in that it treated light, or it simulates light reflection, absorption, and reflectivity in the same way that real material does it, and then use a special type of software to create this type of material. And so every material that has been issued from Revit 2021 forward are PBMs. Those are physically based material. Physically based materials. And so the yellow warning is just telling you that that's an all asset, and it's not going to render as nice as the PBMs. Now these stained concrete doesn't have that asset. That means that this is going to render super nice, super nice. And so what I do recommend you, if you're trying to create a render inside Revit, is that pick assets that are new, meaning the ones that do not display the physically based warning. And there's a bunch of materials that are old. You can still see them there. And there's a bunch of materials that are new. And so the new one have an effect that is incredible. It looks super nice. So my recommendation, try to use physical based asset as much as possible. Okay, so I had this asset that was brought from the library into the project. I duplicated the material, assigned the appearance library. This is the image texture. Just FYI, when you click this cell, it gives you access to the source image. And if textures typically are mapped as an array, and I shouldn't change any of this. And so, for example, tile, wood tile or ceiling tile, you can repeat the asset or the image at a certain distance. The distance is right here. Scale samples. No, the sample size is this sample size that you see up here. But what it will do, it will tile this image multiple times until it fills the entire surface. You can change rotation. You can change the sample size. Or if you don't want it to repeat, like the whole image just spread across the entire surfaces, just change the repetition to none. I'm going to leave it as it is. And what that means, in a printed side of 2020, 20 by 20, you're going to see one tile in the project. So I'm going to keep it as is. The other thing to know is that these, if you hover over, these materials are texture maps that are living inside the out-of-the-box path. So C, program file, common file, there's a very deep path until you get to the material library. It's not under Revit, it's under Autodesk Share, because I told you that nowadays Revit shares everything. All the materials are shared across all the Autodesk products. And so if you create, you can assign your custom map. You can go into the internet, download an image that looks nice, and then you can save it into your PC, and you can render. It will work well in your computer, but it's not going to work well for your teammates, because these texture maps are consistently repeated in every workstation, and therefore Revit can retrieve them. But if you create a new texture map and you save it on a local machine, then your teammates who are trying to render, they're not going to see that material. So be aware of where you save the material. If the project is centralized in a server, then you can save the material in a server location called texture, custom texture, and everybody have access to that server material. If you're working in BIM 360, for example, BIM 360 now support the ability to connect to the Autodesk Docs drive. Autodesk Docs is like a Google Drive but for Autodesk. And when you create custom material maps using BIM 360 is in the team environment, you can pick a folder under Autodesk Docs. They will give you access to the project you're working on. And inside there, you can create a texture map folder where you can save your texture map so that the material doesn't disappear when another user accesses it. That makes sense? Just a recommendation there about custom images. All right, so a lot of detailed explanation on what all of this is about. Last few things. Here you can the asset browser, it's read-only, like I said, but you can add your own library. Here, libraries can be saved as in a centralized location, which make it accessible to multiple users. So if your users spend a lot of time creating custom material with custom image maps, then designate a place in a server where you can map it from, and then you can open it from here, open existing library, and the libraries have the extension Autodesk Live, and you can just browse into your own server and load it. Again, this requires the initiative of be placing the new materials in the same location, but it benefits the entire organization because they will have access to your hard work on texturizing. Okay, so this is the material I created. It's using this asset. I hit OK. That material is now in my project. I created from the library of assets, and now I'm just going to apply it. I'm going to switch to a 3D view, select the floor, then edit type to access the floor structure. And in the structural material, you can add like an 1/8 of an inch layer on top of it. I'm just going to do it all based on appearance. Click on the material selection, the 3 little dots in the material cell, select the stained concrete, hit OK, apply, and OK. Now this material is only going to get active when you switch to realistic mode, or when we render. And there you go. This is physically based material, so it's going to look much nicer when we render in high quality. All right, it's 7:15. I still need to discuss how to create camera views and use the rendering. I'm going to start next class with that discussion. But if you have questions, feel free to stay for a few more minutes. Otherwise, see you Wednesday. On Wednesday, we're going to finish this topic on renderings and materials. And we're going to talk about shared coordinates and landscape. So for those who are in landscape, that's your class next Wednesday.
Cesar, I lost my internet connection, so I missed all the new materials and how you did it. Okay. So
Oh,
I'll-
sorry to hear.
yeah, I'll just check it out from the video, but yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, I'm gonna save this file in today's date in the Google Drive. And you can access it for next class as needed. Ten. There you go.
Perfect.
And watch the recording, Cesar. Sorry it happens
Yeah.
to you. I'm gonna stop actually the